Good evening, everyone. Wow, isn't this exciting? This is fantastic.
I welcome you here to this place, Ulumbarra, to gather together.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's fantastic to be here tonight.
Bendigo, you've done it again, so congratulations.
Could I ask you to seek out a friend or a family member who might have never experienced the theatre and invite them along to an inspiring night of entertainment?
There have been hundreds of contractors and tradesmen who have worked on this site. I hope that in the years to come it will be a great sense of pride to you, as it will be to all of us, to be able to say that I had a part in building Ulumbarra.
To the project team, to our venue sponsors, to our donors, to our clients, to our business partners, and in particular to the three levels of government that backed us 5 years ago, we sincerely thank you.
Welcome to the Pointy End. I'm Keith Sutherland. Today my guest is City of Greater Bendigo Futures Director, Mr. Stan Liacos. And welcome to the Pointy End today, because Bendigo, in my opinion, is on the map. So Friday night was just a sensational event, and I know you've been here, you said, for 8 years, but to me this must have been a culmination of a dream come true with the Ulumbarra Theatre opening on Friday night. Now, just give us a bit of a brief history as to how it got started, and then we'll go through what happened Friday night
There's a great story to tell, Keith, and I'm sure one day they'll make a movie about this, or even possibly a mini-series. For me, it goes back for probably 12, 13 years ago, where Bendigo, my understanding was that it had endeavoured to build an A-grade theatre. For one reason or another, as often happens, didn't quite happen. And I always remembered those stories that people told me, and we always had an aspiration to build it to the rear of the capital by using the capital. It makes sense. And that still, in many ways, would be an outstanding spot. But really, fast forward, and the story really goes that it was Dale Pearce, the principal, who approached Craig Neiman and I and said he'd secured funds to build an auditorium for the school. And I think up to 8 million. And with respect, you can't build an A-grade theatre of the scale that you saw on Friday night for 8 million. But it was good for a school. But the issue with that is, if you build a low-quality theatre of 1,000 seats, then what hope does Bendigo have to build a high-quality 1,000-seat theatre within 300 or 400 metres away? It's nonsensical. So I take my hat off to Dale, because what Dale did is he went on a journey with us to see whether we could say, well, given you've built the foundation, why don't we now scope it up and get others to contribute? And essentially, that's where we are. That's the journey that his money enabled us to broker federal funds, state funds, local funds, and a dream started coming true.
On Friday night with the opening was just an amazing event. And I was lucky enough to be invited several times, and I didn't make it, and I'm so pleased I didn't. Yeah. But to walk up to that grand entrance, walk in, it was eerie, going past the cells, and you almost felt the presence of somebody in those cells as you walked down. Yeah. But to get to that open space, and then you get to the auditorium, the theatre itself, was just an incredible event. The atmosphere, the blending, Matt Dwyer, the architect, and I know that between yourself and Dale, this became a passion for the last 5 years.
Yes, very much.
And to him to interpret your passion, to put the nuts and bolts together, to end up with a theatre like we've got, must have been an incredible journey for the three of you guys.
Absolutely, but a journey of many people. The legals, the financial things, the government submissions that have got to be done, the whole design process, contract caterers, and more recently the mounting of the operations. To run a venue like that is a big and sophisticated operation, and to mount the shows that we've already done in the first 5 nights, lots of people, an extraordinary number of people. But also just the physical building, there would have been 300 or 400 tradespeople that would have worked on a project of that nature. Very complex.
And it's been going day and night, because leading up to Easter, they were getting the outside done. I know there's a few finishing touches to be done there and to bring it up to speed, but okay, you've got to have a opening date. You can't go past it, because that's when you sort of get everything in play. And then when you have this document, and you read through that, the sponsors, the people that have donated, the whole event, and Friday, it just was an amazing event, and we kept, or you guys organised it to have an Aboriginal theme with the songs. It just, the whole thing just flowed beautifully. So full credit to your team and whoever else was involved.
And they were Central Victorian artists, and there were Central Victorian stories told that night. They weren't things picked off a shelf from somewhere else in the world. We did it our way, and I'm really pleased that you thought we did a good job. It's an
No, not a good job, an amazing job.
Thank you. It is an exhilarating thing to be part of something like that. It's an extraordinary process where you finally get there, and the tension is extraordinary. And I would say, and this is not the first time this has happened to me, I've been lucky enough to be involved in major projects for many years, and it's exhilarating. It's so rewarding being praised for a good thing, but I tell you what also happens, you get physically and utterly exhausted. And I have many members of my team and Dale's team and the broader design and construction team that would be hitting exhaustion soon. Because it's sustained. It's not a one-night thing. It's sustained for 5 years, but then it really culminates for 6 months. And in the last 2 to 3 months, and the last 2 to 3 weeks, and then the last 2 to 3 days, it's an energy that it's hard to explain to people who have never had the fortune to be part of something like that. It's sustained tension, and it's hard.
You're running on adrenaline. And I'll just run through some of these statistics, and it just blew me away. Came through yesterday. 900 people attended the official opening gala night, Friday night. 900 patrons, plus 500 staff and a crew attended on Saturday night, light up the sky. 6,500 people. It was like Burke Street going up there with the market on the Sunday. Bendigo people were a bit wary of what the concept was, but Bendigo people have embraced it. 6,500 people. Then you had 520 James Morrison Sunday night, 300 students from the Bendigo Secondary College of Assembly Monday, 940 Ross Noble on Monday evening, and so on it goes. And I believe that you've got 170 forward bookings of that venue, so that just shows the value. The only thing that worries me a little bit, what happens with the capital, because everyone will want to be in that space. Is it going to be, there's obviously lots of other things that are going to happen there.
Could I maybe before I talk about the capital, could I actually just say that I've had the fortune to be in most of those audiences. Clearly for Friday night, the opening, the Saturday night big community event, extraordinary. It's amazing to sit in the venue, and most of those have been full houses, which is around 956 people. And it's a great experience. The one event I didn't go to, where I did actually took the night off, was James Morrison. And what I understand from many people and friends who went is that James Morrison was praising the venue's acoustics, because you can design anything and build something, but sometimes it just doesn't feel right. The room feels good, and acoustically it appears to have been an outstanding success. That's a big relief to me. He was saying it's absolutely better acoustics than the Sydney Opera House, and he's travelled internationally. To the capital is not experiencing a decline in bookings. The team that runs the Ulumbarra Theatre is actually the same team that runs the capital, and they also run the town hall, and we've set up an entity within the city that's running all of our venues now. The capital isn't experiencing much drop, because what we're finding is that it's still being used and booked by things that need smaller and more modest scale, but we're also finding more conferences are booking. And what also may surprise people in Bendigo is that it's not a theatre, the capital, it's a converted Masonic hall. And it's served us well. But acoustically, there is, in that building, if you have an event upstairs in the theatre, you can't use downstairs because there's a transference of noise and vibration, and vice versa. So you can't have a wedding downstairs and have an event upstairs. So what we're actually finding is that the Capitol is still being booked well, but particularly now for conferences, weddings, parties, anything. So we're finding more commercial bookings are coming in. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
David Lloyd and his team are telling me they're not experiencing much drop. And what's truly amazing about what we've done, because we've been very clever about how we're running this venue, is David Lloyd has only been given, and he reminds me all the time, because I think he wants more, he's been given 2 additional staff members to run a venue of that scale that you saw on Friday night. It's because he's already got a magnificent team in place. So he just needed a boost in business development services and a bit more technical grunt. But he extends his team, and he extends his team right across the city to run Burton venues. And when we bring in things, we're often bringing in casual technicians. So I think we're going to run a venue at a very efficient way, because he's already running other venues.
And it adds to it, because I keep saying all the time, Bendigo is the events capital of Victoria now, with all these things, and this is going to be an extra. You mentioned before you've been involved in a lot of things. Is this really one of the pinnacles of your working career? Because you worked on the Geelong waterfront, you worked on Federation Square, you've worked on a very intricate program with Dale to get the theatre up here in Bendigo. Is this one of the pinnacles of a project that you've put your heart and soul into?
Definitely one of the pinnacles. I don't think it is the pinnacle, and I can't tell you
It's
what
still
it
coming,
is.
I suppose.
It's still coming, It's a great moment in my career, but I have been fortunate enough. I may not have been in charge of Federation Square, but I was a very senior director on that project. And the scale of Federation Square is extraordinary compared to this relatively small theatre. I had the fortune to be on projects like that. I had the fortune to be the CEO of the Geelong waterfront, and again, great things were done. There is a great satisfaction about this, and what it is that it's not just what we've done, it's the fact that so many people in Bendigo have longed to have something of such quality, and it's nice to be part of that journey. This will make a big difference to Bendigo. I believe this venue will help lift the tide, and when you lift the tide, all the boats lift, and you probably don't notice it, but Bendigo is lifting in its stature and its calibre in the last 10 years. And we are no longer a small, quaint little country town. We are a strong, confident regional city, and to be a strong, confident regional city, you've got to have quality, and I think we're delivering it in the last 10 years as a community.
I've got no doubts about it. As I said, on Saturday I was doing something, and I said Bendigo came of age last night, and I really believe that, regardless of just the arts, events, sporting, Bendigo has got culture. It is just an amazing. So congratulations to you and your team. You mentioned David Lloyd before. I spoke to David yesterday. He's lost weight because he's running between the venue. He was sort of Davis Street. You've got Jacoba Kelly, Anne Henschel, and a whole team, and Rachel Lee. You paid mention to her on Friday night, backing you up all the way with this project.
She's a gem. For those in the community that know Rachel, she's an extremely efficient and extremely clever person, a very understated person. She's happy for people like me to be waving their arms and talking all day, but she is the person that holds it together, and she is a very talented lady.
Well, Stan, as I said, congratulations to yourself, Dale, also the City of Greater Bendigo for supporting it, the vision, federal government, state government, everyone that's been involved in it. As I said, it really is one of the most amazing events that I've been at Friday night, and it's only going to grow from strength to strength from here. Love to have a program up there with yourself, Dale, and Bendigo IPTv to be involved when it's finally put to bed, the whole lot, the nuts and bolts, the build project. And I know there's a few little things, but it's just a wonderful event. And Bendigo has come of age, and culturally, I think, Friday night.
And I have to thank the media. I think the Bendigo media for many years has been a big supporter of the project and has given us sustained, consistent coverage. The Advertiser, the Bendigo Weekly, Win TV, and ABC, I find the whole media has been really great supporters, and I don't think we would have pulled it off if there wasn't that support, because it creates a positive vibe. So we've ridden on the back of that positive media momentum.
Well, they've embraced it, and as I said to you, I think the Bendigo community was evidenced on Sunday. They've embraced it as well. So well done. Thank you for appearing on the Pointy End today.
Thanks, Keith.